We are notifying viewers that you are live. Thank you, TikTok. It is much appreciated. Getting the vocal cords loosened up and ready to go. We're here for the third time, third week in a row. I need to get one that says ask me anything. Ask me everything. Might even pop into the live studio audience. 5 of my friends are live. Cool. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for the like. Haven't even really fully started yet. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Supermarket. Yes, it is quite curated. I actually have an entire second and third bookshelf here and another bookshelf over there. That one is Stephen King. This one has Michael Connelly. The top shelf is currently Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be selling those sets off, though. And then I've got autographed books here, and I've got comics down at the bottom here, sports books there, and then it's just an odd array of books and novels on this one over here. Why am I so proud to be an atheist? I didn't say proud to be an atheist, I just said atheist. Yep, D&D 5th edition. The only non-5th edition that I have, favorite King villain is... Oh, I had it there for a second. I think it is Randall Flagg. I think it is. The only non-5th edition book that I have is a 3.5 module called The Forge of Fury. And it's the original version of a module that got updated for 5th edition in Tales of the Yawning Portal, which might be there, might be under this computer here. Hey, Tanis. Looks like you're pretty proud with it displayed up there. Oh, Christian Trahan. I mean, why are you so proud to be a Christian? You're so proud to be a Christian and that it's your name. I'm proud to be an atheist, where at least my mind is free. I'm proud to be an atheist because it's something I accomplished through my own work. One must overcome a lot to reclaim one's atheism. I might actually write an entire song, proud to be an atheist. And I can give Christian credit for inspiring it. It makes more sense to me to be proud of a religion than to be proud to not have a religion. It doesn't make sense to me to be proud of a religion because almost everyone I know who has a religion just inherited it from their parents. Didn't do any real work to accomplish it. So what is there to take pride in? For real, I was raised Baptist and in church every day of the week. Took a lot to break that indoctrination. Absolutely. One has to challenge one's upbringing, one's childhood, the ideas that one has been indoctrinated to believe are true, and it's a terrifying thing to do. That's my argument against racial pride. And it doesn't perfectly equate, but it does largely. Like, I can't be proud to be white because I did absolutely nothing to... I exerted no effort to be white. I was literally just born white. If I could play D&D with a celebrity, who would I choose? A non D&D, if it were any, I would, Brennan Lee Mulligan it's very, very, very high up on the list, but he, like, that's his job. If it were a non D&D celebrity, who would I would absolutely love to play D&D with Jeff Goldblum. I think he would be fantastic. Cognitive dissonance of not believing in magic and needing evidence, except for in my core beliefs. Yeah. I mean, what is religion but the belief in magic? Religion is essentially D&D, but you don't get to play along. When people claim to be proud of their heritage, it strikes me as very self-deceptive. Jeff Goldblum played once? That I would have to see. That would be so much fun to watch. Yet pride is a weird thing. Like being proud of... So to me, to be proud of something, I have to exert effort to accomplish it. Like I am proud of having written a novel because I exerted a lot of effort to write a novel. I am proud of the fact that I have, to a large degree, overcome my temper issues that I had when I was younger because I exerted a lot of effort to accomplish it. To say that I'm proud of being... of Irish descent is a little bit weird because I had absolutely nothing to do with that. I am the end result of that, but I exerted no effort in that. It was a web show. Okay. Jeff Goldblum, D&D. There is an article on Polygon. Hear Jeff Goldblum play D&D because life finds a way. Yeah. Actor Jeff Goldblum is joining the cast of a fan-made Dungeons & Dragons podcast called Dark Dice, created and written by Fool and Scholar Productions. Well, I'm going to have to check that out. Now, that is from 2 years ago. Yeah, and I'm aware it's kind of a rabbit hole type thinking. Yes. Yeah. Dark Dice. Well, if it was from 2 years ago, there should be a decent amount of it. Let's see. It says the first episode is currently available. And when I click on it, it says something went wrong. Let's see. So, Dark Dice D&D. Do I have a different word displayed on my bookshelf every week? Not on Fridays. On Fridays I swap it just to that. That's called Trollbait. On Tuesday nights it does say that I'm playing D&D on Twitch, and it has the link for the DM's Twitch channel so that I can drive traffic over there. Those are the only 2 times that I stream. So yes, technically I do. For my Tuesday night streams I have one thing up there, and for the Friday night streams I have that. For now, I might switch it up to something else. I might switch it up to Trans Women Are Women, or Drag Is Not a Crime, or something else that will lure in regressive trolls so that we can have ourselves an entertaining bicker. Edna said, I'm a Christian, but I agree with the shirt choice. Right! And see, the fun thing is, agree with you as a Christian, in that we agree that all the other gods are fake. And I agree with someone who believes in the Greek pantheon. I agree with them that all the other gods are fake. So realistically, we all agree on exponentially more than we disagree on. Darkdice.com. Let's see, so the website is still there. It's a horror actual play. It's just a debate starter. I thought you just had that up there. Well, yes, both. Oh, I do have it up there for fun, because to me, putting out Trollbait is fun. Is that an unstable unicorn shirt? A dear friend that bought me this, I don't actually 100% know. I just adore the shirt. I think those are hammers and sickles from Miko. Yeah, darkdice.com. I will accept the cookies. 49 minutes, an hour 40, an hour 4. There are only 2 on here. So let's see. So Dark Dice is a horror, dark fantasy actual play podcast created by husband and wife duo Travis Wengroff and K.A. Stats. Looks like Jeff Goldblum was brought in on the second season. Called The Long Road, which actually shares its name with a Stephen King novel written under his Richard Bachman pseudonym. No, I'm sorry. The Bachman novel was called The Long Walk. Interesting. I'm going to have to check it out. Maybe we can get Pepsi to sponsor us. I actually did look up to see, though, if the creator of Scrabble was an atheist, because I thought that would have been a nice bit of synergy. There is no indication either way, whether he is or not. Playing with someone like Daniel Day-Lewis would be too much. No method actors like that. I was gonna say like Joaquin Phoenix or who else was I thinking of? Someone popped into my head and then disappeared again. Joaquin Phoenix would be a very interesting person to play that with. I'm trying to think of non-actors too, though. I thought those were periodic table icons. No, yeah, those are Scrabble tiles. Periodic table ones would be cool, though. I might have to make those. See, that's what I'll do. Each week it'll be the same word. It'll just be in a different style. Like one week I'll have it written in Draconic, so nobody will know what it says except the very few people who actually speak Draconic. Let's see. The periodic table. Which ones am I going to use? Because I'm not just going to use 7 different elements. Is there an AT? Let's see. Yes. Astatine. Number 210 is atomic symbol AT. Helium is HE. Is there an IS? I don't think there is. I don't think there is. Right now, maybe Neil deGrasse. Oh, that is an excellent choice. That is an excellent non-specifically actor choice, although he does do a little bit. Atomic symbol I. Iodine. And then strontium apparently is, no, strontium is SR. What's the story behind my username? Fluffy. So CapWithoutaCountry comes from a cosplay. I originally created my TikTok account with the intent of using it for cosplay because about 3 years ago, I started going to Comic-Cons as the version of Captain America from Avengers Infinity War. So he wasn't Captain America in that movie. They didn't call him Nomad, but he was like the Nomad version of the character Steve Rogers. That was the version I was cosplaying. So it was the version without the round shield, but it had the gauntlets because I had the beard. And at that point, he was a fugitive, so he was a Cap without a country. The name Cap Without a Country is a riff on the short. It was like an 1863 short story called The Man Without a Country. So it was kind of a combination of those two things. I have done, in the 1,000 videos that I've made, maybe 3 cosplay videos. I think I have a playlist called Cosplay Right that has them. And it's 2 or 3, maybe. One of them is Constantine. One of them is Steve Rogers. So I didn't end up using the account for what I intended to. The profile picture is actually the shield from the Soldier Supreme version of the character, which was a version of Steve Rogers from the Infinity Wars miniseries, where the universe got folded in half, and pairs of characters were combined into a single character. So Steve Rogers and Stephen Strange got combined into Steve Strange, the Soldier Supreme, who used magic during World War II. And my profile picture is the shield, the magical shield that he conjured. It was from the cover of Soldier Supreme #2, I believe. I haven't watched a Marvel film since Age of Ultron, so that whole time travel thing confuses me. Yeah, that was 2015. That was a little while ago. You missed the best two Avengers movies, though. I'll say definitely the best one. Infinity War is pretty well regarded as the best Avengers movie. From there, it gets more into personal preference. I loved it. I was slightly torn because I love time travel as a narrative device. I'm still not 100% sure that I loved it for the culmination of the Avengers story. But I was okay with it because they didn't use it to change the past. They used it as a way. Essentially, their version of time travel was as a Mission Impossible story. The past was the ultra secure vault they had to break into, and time travel was just the key card that they used to break into the vault to steal the MacGuffins, which were the items that had been destroyed in their current time. So they had to go to the vault, which was the past, to get them and bring them back to the present, and then put them back where they belonged. So I kind of liked that use of it, because that's not a use I see too often. Usually it's we're going to go back into the past and change the past, and then either we come back to the present and it's altered, or we create an alternate timeline and we have to go to that timeline or something like that. Which was also true in this one, but you could only come back to the timeline you left from. Hey, Bearded Ninja. Well, we're 17 minutes in and I haven't done the intro. For your safety, please remain seated throughout our journey. Keep all hands, feet, legs, and arms inside the ride vehicles, and please supervise your children. I think someone distracted me. They asked about the troll bait. Amongst what versions? So there's time travel where you have a time machine. There's psychological time travel, but I've only seen that rarely. I saw it in the Butterfly Effect, and they did something like it in The Time Traveler's Wife. So you mean like my favorite time travel story? That also depends, because my favorite like use of time travel, like mechanical use of time travel, was predestination. I don't like time travel, but I do like resurrection, like with Gandalf. Hey, nerdy. Yeah, my favorite mechanical use of time travel was predestination, because it addressed all of the sort of paradoxes of time travel and made them part of the story. It was based on a short story called, I think called By His Bootstraps. About Time is also a really good time travel rom-com. I think that's the other one I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the title. I think that's the one with the father and the son, and they both have, I'm not calling you a nerd, I'm just calling you nerdy. And you're already late to that party because Dustin already called me a nerd. I mean, Back to the Future, absolute classic. I enjoyed The Flash. I did just see The Flash. One of my favorite jokes throughout the movie was the Back to the Future stuff, because every time travel movie makes reference to well, not every time travel, but it's sort of a cliche now and a trope, like Avengers Endgame did it, to make reference to Back to the Future. And so for The Flash to do it, but in the way that they did it, was an interesting spin on that joke. What are those interesting looking editions of The Lord of the Rings? So yes, that's actually a box set from think that set is from 1982. See, because I've also got the Silmarillion and the Hobbit. The Hobbit is from that's a 1954 edition. The Silmarillion, I think, is this 1977 edition, and then that's a 1982 box set. Which would rather want time travel or travel through the multiverse? I would want time travel. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because if you can travel through the multiverse, you can essentially get the effect of time travel without worrying about messing up the timeline. Because if you can jump through different universes, you can eventually find the universe in which the thing you wanted to happen happened. And so you can get the version of the universe you want without having to alter the past. It wasn't too terribly expensive. Those were collected, these books were collected over a span of time off of eBay. So I didn't grab the first one. I waited until there was decently priced sets. But Tib didn't... But it didn't happen to you. It happened to your other self. Oh, it didn't happen to you. Right. So, I mean, part of the question is whether you can change the past or you just create an alternate timeline anyway. Because if you go into the past and you change something, it's entirely possible you just create an alternate universe in which an alternate version of you lived the life you wanted to have lived. It would be really psychologically interesting and potentially dangerous if you went into the past, changed the past, and then in that instant, all of your memories changed to this other universe. But it would be really interesting if you just got an extra set of memories. So you still had your memory of the way things originally happened, but then you also had the memory of the way things now happened. Another really great time travel story was Frequency, where there wasn't physical time travel. It was the one with Jim Caviezel where he discovers his ham radio can transmit information back and forth through time. So he can talk to his father in the past, and by talking to his father is able to alter his present because he can change what his father did. Imagine watching the best version of every movie. Right. That alone, honestly, is probably worth it. So we had a conversation. Amy B was in last week and was asking a series of questions about just. She kept asking what came before the Big Bang, and separate from that question, the conversation at one point did turn to the idea of a multiverse. And it occurred to me, my answer to Amy was that a universe that does not require a creator could simply have always been. So it's not that there was nothing before the Big Bang, it's that there never was a before. There always was a version of the universe. And if there always was an incarnation of the universe, that itself is a multiverse. The way that I had always conceptualized it was that it was a string of universes, like a sequence of universes. They weren't concurrent. But there's nothing to say that they wouldn't be, because if time only exists within each incarnation of the universe, then they kind of do exist at the same time. And if the universe is eternal going backwards and eternal going forwards, then ultimately you end up with every possible version of the universe. And so you end up with effectively a multiverse. Star Trek, love for time travel, that they had a time war, and temporal agents. Yeah, that was it Enterprise? Or Deep Space Nine, or both? I do remember they did have a time war. Doctor Who had their time war also. As a writer, I love those concepts, but they are the second I start wanting to write them, I become immediately overwhelmed by the amount of work you have to do to really make that work. Futurama and Marvel have both tackled that concept of the repeating universe. Futurama had one of the greatest time travel stories because of how far apart they seeded the pieces of it. Because I think it took a full 3 seasons before we really understood how important time travel was to that entire story. Wait a second, what? Fluffy said, wait a second, what? I assume you're talking about the single universe being a multiverse. I want to kick open star-shaped portals. That would be pretty cool. The universe being eternal equals a multiverse. It does, yeah. Because what you end up with is, so there's no such thing as a first universe. That was another thing Amy kept asking. She said, what was before the first version of the universe? There wasn't a first version of the universe in that model. There was always a previous incarnation. So you could never give ordinal numbers to incarnations of the universe. What you would have to do is number the universes with respect to other universes. So, like, we could refer to the incarnation we're currently in as, whatever, n. And then the incarnation before it is just n minus 1, and the incarnation after it is n plus 1. So then all of the incarnations are ordered in reference to the one you're talking about. So there is no first, there's just, from our perspective, n minus however many, n minus infinity, n minus whatever. Also, that final episode where Fry freezes time, yes. So if there was no first, and there will be no last, there's just an infinite number of incarnations. Mathematically, that means every possible version of the universe will occur and has occurred. And the idea of the topic also came up, if you could have if each version of the universe would be the same, or if you could have one universe, one version of the universe, and then the next version is identical. And to me, I think that is almost mathematically impossible. And the idea was that if you take a deck of cards and you deal out a 5-card hand, the probability of that 5-card hand coming out as it did is 1 in 311 million. That's just 5 variables. If you deal out 5 more cards, it's 1 in 311 million, and it will be a completely different hand. If you deal out all 52 cards, just a deck of cards, the odds of that order coming out is astronomically low. And that's just 52 variables. So when you're talking about the universe, you're talking about every single atom as an individual variable and being completely reformulated every single time. The chances that a version of the universe would recur exactly the same is almost mathematically impossible. So every version of the universe will be different. But because there are an infinite number, every version of the universe will occur. And because time only exists within a single incarnation of the universe, they're not like beads on a string. One version happens, another version happens, another version happens, and essentially they could be viewed as all happening concurrently because there's not an external time framework within which to put them. So, the infinite incarnations of the universe are a multiverse in a really weird way. What are my thoughts on string theory? I don't understand string theory well enough to really have thoughts on it. My very basic understanding of it is the idea that every particle in the universe is in some way connected to every other particle in the universe. That alone might be wrong. It might be that every particle in the universe is paired to another particle in the universe, and that they interact on a quantum level. I'm surprised we never got a show centered around temporal agents. We did. There was a show called 7 Days. And there's currently a show called The Lazarus Project. Those are both about temporal agents. Thank you for sharing the live, Bearded. I like the X-Men tackled Moira's mutant power of restarting the universe. Yeah, well, and Doctor Who did that too. The 11th Doctor rebooted the universe from the Pandorica. It's crazy that quantum computers are going to be a thing, right? I remember a show, it was on Sci-Fi, and it was on Sci-Fi when it was Sci-Fi before it became Sci-Fi. I think it was called The Invisible Man, but it wasn't based on the novel. And in one episode, a character had built a quantum computer and used it to make billions of dollars on the stock market over the course of like 10 minutes. The Seventh Doctor destroyed universes. Quantum physicists claim they will be able to calculate solar flares using quantum computers. I don't understand quantum physics. I think Richard Feynman says anyone who claims they do is a liar. I am absolutely fascinated by quantum physics and don't understand it nearly well enough. My favorite Doctor is the 10th Doctor, and that feels bandwagony, but David Tennant was he is my sainted physician. I am very much looking forward to 14 and the explanation about why he gets this face again. My second favorite Doctor, I think, is the third Doctor. I know 4 is one of the most popular. I do like 4 a lot, but I think Pertwee is my second favorite Doctor. Quantum physics is really simple. It's physics, but quantum. Favorite Doctor companion was Martha. It was Martha Jones. Rose was my first. I do love her, but Martha was my favorite. Yeah, that's Rose. That's a fair one. I'm sorry, that's not entirely correct. Jack, Captain Jack, was very, very. It depends on the day of the week. It depends on my mood, whether it's Martha or Jack. Logically, quantum computers make no sense. Like, how can you make a computer out of atoms? Right? Wait. Everything's made out of atoms instead of transistors. Transistors are made out of atoms. I mean, we can manipulate atoms. Favorite version of the Master. See, I feel like all of my answers are New Who. They are all New Who. John Sims was great, but I really did love Missy a lot. Missy had one of my favorite lines when she said, I don't even remember who she was talking to, but she was telling somebody to basically get over human beings' obsession with, to rise above their obsession with their own physicality. Captain Jack did become the face of Bo. Yep, because Rose as the bad wolf made him effectively immortal, extremely long-lived. And he made reference to being the face of Bo when he joined I can't remember the name of them now, the temporal agency, because he was from an island or a peninsula, the Bohane Peninsula. And because he was so good looking, they called him the face of Bo. And then later on, he became the face of Bo. I love that when Donna got the powers of the Doctor, I wish she kept them. And see, I'm wondering how that's going to play out in the new specials, because with Tennant coming back and 14, the trailers have indicated it's very tightly wound up into Donna Noble's story. So I'm interested to see how that comes back around. That's right, the Bohane Peninsula. A quantum computer is somewhat like if each transistor can be on and off at the same time. It is going to be fascinating. I feel like quantum computing and true AI are going to be tied together, because I feel like true AI is going to be a side effect of a quantum computer, because a quantum computer is going to have enough computing power that it's essentially going to be a consciousness. Touche, but the idea is that quantum computer qubits are in a simultaneous state, unlike transistors, which are either 0 or 1. I'm also interested why the 15th Doctor has so many different outfits. The mysteries shall never cease. I'm interested to... I still need to catch up on the rest of 13. I missed some of 12. I missed some of 13. I think I overdid because I watched so much leading up to 12. Like I watched all of 9, 10, and 11, which was 7 series, I think, in total. And then I went back and watched all of the first Doctor before 12. And so I think I kind of saturated myself and needed to take a little bit of a break. Do I think we'll ever see the Doctor's child again? You mean Jenny? I hope so. I was hoping that she was going to get a spinoff. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I mean, it's so far past that happening, I think. I was wondering if Maisie Williams, the actress from Game of Thrones, she was made immortal, and Clara was essentially made immortal by being pulled out of time to travel the universe. So it felt like they were setting that up for a spinoff that never came to fruition. I think the combo explosion of AI and quantum computers is going to whiplash us all. Yeah, I can't remember. A technological singularity, I think, is what it was called. It's sort of the same idea as the what led to like the industrial, like it is a kind of technology that is going to take us forward so far so fast we're not prepared for it. Maybe get to see a different version of Jenny, like a second or third incarnation. That would be cool. That would be very cool. They could, even if they only do like one story or maybe a 2-3 part story, they could use. They've got several immortal characters now because they've got Jenny and they've got Clara, they've got Captain Jack. I'm gonna look up her name because I'm gonna keep not knowing it and wanting to know it. Let's see here. I don't even remember her name in Game of Thrones. Yes, Maisie Williams. Okay, yep. And on Doctor Who, she played the girl who died, the woman who lived, Face the Raven, a Shielder, that's right. A Viking girl who was brought into the present of the show. What is a sci-fi gadget or weapon that I would use in my daily life? My brain immediately went to the lightsaber, and I wouldn't use that in my daily life. The sonic screwdriver. This is a very Doctor Who-centric conversation. The sonic screwdriver just for its utility. There was a solar flare in 700 AD, but imagine a modern-day solar flare, yeah, right? Entire world's electricity just gone. What other sci-fi gadget? I'm trying to think of a small, like the DeLorean is the first time travel device I think of, but I'm trying to think of a smaller, like handheld time travel device. The ones from Avengers Endgame, the wristlets, not the TARDIS. The TARDIS would be pretty cool, but that's like a ship. I don't know if I can consider that a gadget. Not a weapon. Yeah, trying to think of a source of magic too. Possibly an infinity. The reality stone would be pretty useful. The mind stone, might lose interest in that. The gauntlet, maybe the fully loaded gauntlet. I feel like the fully loaded gauntlet is the sonic screwdriver cranked up to 11. It is a book of cryptids. It is a book of United States cryptids specifically. I actually bought this for ideas for homebrewed monsters in the D&D campaign I run for my teenage daughter and her cousin and their friend. If I'm honest, I'd love to have the powers of Scarlet Witch. I would 100% love to have the power. Okay, I would love to have the powers of the Scarlet Witch. That being said, and I did talk about this last week, it's fascinating to me, the idea that having those powers would make it almost impossible to tell the difference between reality and fantasy. Because if you can alter reality with a thought, possibly even by accident, how can you possibly know what is and is not real? Like, does the idea of real even mean anything anymore? Because you can change what's real. What are cryptids? Cryptids are like Mothman, Sasquatch. So they're creatures that are believed to be the Loch Ness monster. They're natural creatures. I think most of them are natural. They're kind of hybrid, conspiratorial creatures. When Hela walked through Odin's vault and raided it, yeah. If a Warforged was a druid and he changed into an animal, would he be a transformer? He would be a what do they call them? The specifically transformer to the beast mode, the Predacons, the Maximals. Yeah. That would be. See, I want to make a changeling druid. So you have a character who can change into any humanoid form and a lot of creature forms. Is that the Captain America shield from the first movie behind you? It is the heater shield. Yep. And it is metal. Yes, cryptids are folklore creatures that have not yet been explained by science. A cryptid that I'd like to be real. I don't know if one counts a Pegasus as a cryptid. I believe I would count that. It doesn't look like it counts because it's mythological. I'm going to say a Pegasus. How is a megalodon a cryptid when we know it existed? Well, I mean, then it's just extinct. Well, and I guess something that did exist and is believed to be extinct, and there's no evidence that it does still exist, could be a cryptid. The modern continually existing version of it would be considered a cryptid. It would be like saying like a velociraptor right now. If someone believed that velociraptors still exist today in their original form, that version of a velociraptor would be a cryptid, even though velociraptors did really exist in the past. Changelings in D&D and Star Trek, they are so fantastic. I played a changeling in our Curse of Strahd campaign, and he didn't change all that much. It's kind of funny that he had that ability the whole time, and he started off not in his true form. Only one character knew it. Another character learned it pretty quickly, and then about a third of the way through the story, he got knocked down to 0 hit points and 2 death saving fails, and so he transformed back into his original form at that point. And then I think from then on he just kept going back and forth between the form he was originally in at the beginning and his natural form, and then later he transformed into a female version of himself. The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. I remember reading that. Yep. So many people actually believe in skinwalkers. I mean, so many people believe in fairies. So many people believe, my first D&D character was a changeling ranger. Yeah. I feel like changelings, I feel like autistic people are drawn to changelings specifically. And I don't know your story, so I'm not making an assumption. I'm speaking for myself that I was drawn to changelings through the idea of masking, the idea of being able to change into whatever you need to be in a particular moment, in a particular situation. Once, not long ago, giant squid were considered cryptids and have since been explained by science. Is Santa Claus a cryptid? No, Santa Claus is a fictional character. So Santa Claus is a fictionalization, right? He is, and to go back to the troll bait, he is just another version of what happened to Jesus. He's a historical figure. Nicholas of What was your original name? He was from Turkey. Well, he was from the area that was, or is now, Turkey. St. Nicholas, here we go. St. Nicholas of Myra. Nicholas the Wonder Worker was a bishop of Greek descent from the maritime city of Myra in Asia Minor, modern-day Demre, Turkey. He was later fictionalized. So what we call Santa Claus is like a character from a book, character from a fairy tale. Sort of like what happened with Jesus. Real guy got fictional stories layered on top of him to create this myth that is now treated more so than Santa Claus as a real historical figure. I mean, outside of reality warping, shape-shifting, and power, I'd love to have. When I hear changeling, I think of a druid. Yeah, no, changelings can change. Changelings can change into any humanoid form. Has to have the same basic arrangement of limbs. So arguably, I think this came up. Oh no, he did change into one other type of creature. I think we had him change into a werewolf, because a changeling could change into a tabaxi, which can tabaxi can move as cats, so they can move on all 4 feet. Santa is a fan fiction of several historical figures combined. Yeah. But in general, changelings have to change into a humanoid form. So they could change into Dragonborn, they could change into a tabaxi, they could change into an elf. I think they can only grow or shrink by 1 foot, but that depends on DM caveat. Like, if you had a changeling who was 6 foot tall and you wanted to shapeshift into a 3.5 foot tall halfling, like, that's up to your DM, and I would almost certainly allow that. Druids can shapeshift into creatures, so changelings can't. But if you had a changeling druid, you could double the amount of things you could change into. I'm surprised why I don't see more people playing changelings. Yeah, they are a newer. I think they came from the Eberron campaign setting that Keith Baker created. When was the last time I played? Fluffy, when was the last time you played D&D? I can tell you specifically the date. It was July 2nd. We played a one-shot, fantastic one-shot, that ended up being called The Siege of the Demon, in which our party woke up in a tavern. So now there were 5 of us. 2 of the players, well, technically 3 of the players, were playing characters we had played before. 2 of us were playing characters that we had played for the first time ever the day we met, June 23rd of 2022. And actually the person who DM'd that game back in June of 2022 was playing a character in the one on July 2nd. But I was playing that first character that I had played in that first public game. And another one of the players was playing the character she played. And since that first game, in the year in between, we have developed what is turning into an entire series of novels with an entire... It's at least 4 universes, and it's like it's its own miniature universe. It's like a polyverse, you could call it. And then another one of the players played a character he has played before. The 5 characters we wake up in a tavern, and we discovered all the chairs had been stolen from the tavern overnight. So we agree that we're going to go track them all down. We're following. They weren't stolen particularly well. There's tracks being dragged down the street. So we follow the tracks out of town, and we get out into the woods around the town, and we discover a wagon and a person. And we find out from this person that the chairs had been stolen by a cult who were going to use the chairs to summon their master, Chernabog, a lesser demon. So we track down, we find the area where they're performing this ritual. We are unable to stop them, and they summon Chernabog. So we had to fight Chernabog. So that was the last time I played D&D, was 5 days ago. We're going to be playing again on Sunday, the 9th. And then on Tuesday, the 11th, we'll be playing the Wildmount campaign that is streamed on Twitch. And that's the other one that I stream my side of. Had a DM get surprised by the amount of lore you've created for a character? Who's we? I don't think I've ever surprised any of my DMs by the amount of backstory that I've created. I think they all know at this point that I'm a writer first, and I hang around with other writers, and we all sort of bounce ideas off of each other and exponentially accelerate the amount of creativity we had. Who's we? I mean, in the Tuesday game, there's a crew that we've been playing. We're in our second campaign. Our first campaign was Curse of Strahd. We started that last August, finished it in January of this year. And then the end of January this year started up a campaign set in Wildmount, which is the campaign setting of the second season of Critical Role. That group has been playing together since last August. The Sunday crew is some of the people from the Tuesday crew and then some additional people who are not in the Tuesday crew. And then I had played with another group on Wednesday nights starting last June, ending this March. And we played Rime of the Frost Maiden and completed that and survived it. Where do you even find people to play with? On TikTok, specifically. I had made a video. So, Nikhil Clayton had made a video about how when he was in high school, he had been interested in D&D, but he didn't know anybody who played, and he never got a chance to play. And he just, made a video about how he had always been interested in playing. And then Sir Superhero contacted him and contacted Panda Red and a couple of other, Momo Scariot and Evan NC, someone else, a couple of people, and they started playing D&D over on Twitch. And so I then made a video about how I had been interested in D&D. And I got contacted by Adenvel and by Tanis. Tanis is the DM who has been running our Tuesday campaign since last August. Adenvel was the one who ran Frost Maiden from June of last year to March of this year. You created your own sport. Very nice. Roll20 is another place. I think on D&D Beyond you can probably find, like, if you just want to look online, yeah, you could just go Google looking for game, and D&D looking for game, and you'll find a bunch of websites. But I mean, you could just do it. It worked for me, and it worked for Nikhil. Just make a video about how you've always been interested in playing D&D and never had a chance, and people come look for you. In person, if you've got a comic book shop near you, you could stop in there. That's probably that, or a bookstore that sells, and I don't mean like a Barnes & Noble, but like a bookstore that sells D&D books. Those would be your first two places to start looking, because even if they don't run them in their own stores, they'll probably know someone who does. Discord and Reddit servers are really good. Yep. We play the Tuesday night campaign, we play on Discord, and then someone from Discord streams it to Twitch. And the Sunday night game we play just in Discord. I have only played, I was keeping track, I lost count. I have only played one game of D&D live in person. I've DM'd 10 sessions, but I've played one. And it was actually at it's a place called Gamers Guild Hall in the next town over from where I am. That one was pretty chaotic. That one was really fascinating because we played the starter set that I have over here, Lost Minds of Phandelver. We all started level 1 characters. None of us had ever met. So, like, sitting down at that table was the first time any of the players at that table had met. And so it was very much this, like, chaotic trial by fire. We got to find out who can play what and also not die because we all only have about 9 or 10 hit points. But it was a really, really fun experience. I think I started in August of last year also, DMing a game for my 13-year-old, her cousin, and their friend. The three of them, between the three of them, play 5 characters. And they all started at level 1 and have since worked their way up over the last 10 sessions to level 4. I'm actually planning on running them, I think, 3 more sessions at level 4 until they get to level 5. And then they can go back to their town. I do? Well, just the one. And yep, she will be turning 14. She's 13 and a half. Haven't played in person. Haven't played an in-person game since 2019. You know, COVID put a real hard kibosh on the in-person games, but I feel like the online games just exploded from that because, like, it became really obvious. That's a really excellent way, and it doesn't really diminish the gameplay, the gameplay experience. Like, there is something to be said for being there in person. And maybe I just haven't played enough games in person to really know that I'm missing anything from the online experience. But, you know, played so many tabletop games in 2020. Yeah, D&D is the only one I've ever played. I have not played any other TTRPGs, which is kind of fascinating because there are a lot. I did buy one before the kids started playing D&D. I had bought a game called Magical Kitty Save the World, and it's a very streamlined, simplified tabletop game designed for kids. You play cat characters. I think you only have 3 ability scores, and it's designed for kids. And originally, I was going to run that for them, and then when they were comfortable to switch over to D&D, I had a story beat that was going to allow the story from Magical Kitties to continue, and basically their characters as cats from that Magical Kitties universe were going to get plane shifted into a D&D universe. So it was going to be the same characters, but they were going to change form. There is a Star Wars 5e, yep. I believe there's a Harry Potter. I believe there's a Pokemon version, or like a Pokemon game too. A fun TTRPG I played with Ghostbusters Internationals. Yeah, International. There was one I had looked at briefly. It was like a Tom Clancy Rainbow Six style game. Ghost Recon, maybe? Or maybe that's the name of his. Let's see. No, that's right. Ghost Recon is the name of Tom Clancy's series. Ghost Ops. It might be Ghost Ops. For more gaming, let's see. There's one called Regiment. One called Patrol. But yeah, the idea of like a Tom Clancy style, very real world, very gritty RPG. Didn't go too deep into that because I got too involved in D&D and adored it, which is mostly Dustin's fault, and mostly M's fault, and mostly Meg's fault. It's fault by committee. Let's see. But yeah, I'm very interested. We were talking about after the Sunday game. Those 2 characters that we played. My character is Leander Brightwise, and the other player's character is Aoife Quinn, and we've only played them together in 3 sessions. We played them at level 3 in the game that Dustin DM'd. We played them at level 5 in a game that Meg DM'd, and then we played them at level 6 in a game that Ben DM'd. So we've actually played them, we've had different DMs each time we've played them together. But the amount of story that we've written for the novel that we're putting together, and what will be the beginning of a novel series, I would love to play those characters. I would love to play Leander in an entire campaign. My hesitation with that is that I'm essentially going into that with main character syndrome. Star Wars Galaxies, yeah. I've not played that. But I would love to play Leander at 1st and 2nd level, like his very first adventures that began his career as an adventurer, because I started him at level 3 and then went straight to level 5. So I've actually not even played him at level 4. But like, I've got summaries of what he did in each of those adventures, and then I've sort of got the connective tissue of how what he did between them, how he got from one to the next, and what other characters were involved in that. And part of the problem there is that if I then try to play those games, either I have to put aside everything I've created and go along with whatever gets played, or I'm kind of forcing the story that I have in my head onto other players, and I don't want to do that. Now, Fluff, I have never played World of Warcraft, and I would love to play more video games, but I have such an addictive personality that it would be all I would do. Like I barely have time to do the things I already do. That if I found a new addiction, I would not have time for it. I would have to give something up. I have a small booklet worth of lore for Furbolg characters raised in hell. They'll never play. That'll never play. No. I mean, it could. It would be a fascinating character. I think I've got a book. I've got a couple of books up on top of there that are third-party books. There's one about ancestry and lineage as an alternative to race in D&D. And then now Wizards of the Coast is sort of moving away from the idea of race and moving more into heritage and ancestry and lineages.